The better my service platform delivery is, honestly, the better my physical product delivery will be. All right, so Brian, welcome back. Behind the Grind. Rich Brubaker.
Brian Tam.
And we're here in Shanghai talking behind the grind, obviously behind our entrepreneurial ventures. We've had a lot of fun with this series so far, and we're just going to keep it rolling. So Brian brought a list of questions, of topics, and we're just going to plow through them. I think that's the term.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, we're going to start off focusing on service businesses versus tech startups, right? I mean, they're both kinds of entrepreneurship, both kinds of startup businesses, and they require different types of skill sets. And so, for service businesses, that's typically, consulting business, advising business, even research, design. These are all different types of services where you're trading time for money, isn't it? And then on the other side, tech businesses or product-based businesses, this requires a different type of mindset, requires a different type of skill set and strategies involved. So we want to get into that deeper side of this topic, and you have some experience on that, right?
A little bit, and I was thinking about this when we were first kind of, talking through it. Obviously, my charity was entirely built on services, right? So we match volunteers to, our partners in the community, and we provide training, we provide workforce planning, we provide all kinds of things that are in the middle, entirely service-based.
Wow.
Second to that, at Collective, what we've been doing, we're a consulting organization, so entirely service-based. But over the last 18 months, we've been working on a product, actually, that's an app. And whether it's working with our own product and our own services or helping others, I've really come to understand there is a fundamental difference between the two. As a starting point, though, I'd say the fundamental similarity is the fact that you have a product or service that should have value to the market, and that value should be something that you can hopefully monetize one way or another. So people will, part with something valuable for something that they're returning in value, hopefully, and it's your job to figure out what that is.
Right. And the whole business model around that, the resources that you need to make that happen and all that kind of stuff. And that's what it takes. I mean, that's what we're talking about for a founder or an entrepreneur. Yeah. Right.
And I will say, the one thing that I've really enjoyed about building an actual product right now is the fact that there's something physical to it. It's very easy as a service-based company to just kind of put together PowerPoints, do some research, make it very. You try to create some tangibility from something that's inherently intangible.
Right.
But with the product, it's an app. It has UI, it has UX, it has it has color patterns, it has content,
it has servers.
It has servers.
It has platforms.
It's physical, and you can show here it is, and you can watch them in real time use it, and really as part of that process, learn so much about the actual product that you're delivering. The service. The ones that I've been developing, vastly different. You don't see an immediate reaction. Oh yeah, I'd pay for that, or oh yeah, that would be valuable to me. But they don't see it right there.
So I mean, already it sounds like you're thinking about the other side. I mean, you're transitioning. It sounds like towards this product-based business and moving towards this. I mean, I don't know. I'm just reading your energy a little bit. I'm sensing
I'm not
you're
transitioning.
You're leaving service businesses. Whoa! This is the whole topic here.
I'm agnostic actually, and I think what it is over time I've realized that if you want to solve a problem, you have to have a toolkit.
Right.
You can't just have a hammer. You can't just have a screwdriver. You can't just have a drill.
Okay.
You need to be able to bring different tools to the same problem and chip away at it from different angles. Right. And that problem could be one that a consumer's facing, like food safety, or it could be something much larger like society's facing with, say, urban populations and the wealth gap.
Right.
Both of them for me are things that I'm really looking at, but I realized that, I used to think that I could deliver it all through service because I believe that my product was helping others solve that problem.
Right.
So
your offering.
My offering.
Right.
They would, after working with me or after I worked with them, they would then have the tools to build their own product and then deliver to the market. This project provided just a great case for us to experiment a little bit.
This new project 18 months ago.
This new project, was we got to develop the product. I'm like, I like that because I used to be in the manufacturing. I used to work with physical materials, and it's just nice to get your hands on it and shape it and A/B test, but not like a power it's live.
You can see he's totally transitioning. He's totally going over to the other side.
Next stage.
It's like product businesses, guys. Let me tell you about it, right?
But I'm not going to leave the service side either. I think there's real value.
That's what you're saying
in all of it, and actually. the better my service platform delivery is, honestly, the better my physical product delivery will be.
Right.
Because for me in my business, service that I'm really well suited for, that we've been developing, is researching what the market needs, engaging people to understand those needs, how to then take those tools and develop something. The only difference is now in some cases we're realizing like our clients aren't the best suited to actually create that. And so what they're doing is they're investing in us, or they're co-investing in the product development so that we can actually just solve the problem that the market's facing.
Right. So this is an evolution or response to what your clients were asking for, right? Still taking that service mindset and that ability to understand a specific customer's needs, but then and then their customers' needs, and then trying to evolve your offering to better solve that problem. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to go back a little bit before you go all the way and sell everybody on your amazing product, right? But before we get there, I want to,
By the way, he just launched his book, so he's got
I'm doing the same thing, right? But I'm thinking, primarily my business is still 90% service. So,
right.
I'm thinking there's a lot of people, and I'm all for service entrepreneurship as a starting point, right? I just want to see, it's a starting point from my point of view, but I want to see overall, or maybe before you started this, how did you think about your business model? Like, what were you conceiving of with the services that you had? I mean, it's a broad question.
Well, so actually, this was something I was I was really hoping to get into with you, was like, how do you as an entrepreneur, and like you have your first project, it's very easy to bounce around. I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. But then you look back, you're like, what do I actually do outside of say, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, right? And so actually, we're going through a review right now of like, I have 75 to 100 projects in the last 5 years. We have all the brands that we've ever wanted, and we're really happy with the impact. But if you were to take those 100 projects, how many of those would be something that you can create a repetitive business on? Every year, client A comes back over and over, and it's the same product, or it's something that grows in time so that our impact and our depth of relationship with that client gets deeper and deeper, so we can actually see the output at a much higher level. And I think after we've gone through a number of kind of looks at this, we're realizing like, what do we want to do? How's our vision changing, and how should we map what we're doing towards that? And so now actually we refer a lot more business onto other people than before. We'd be like, no, we need the experience, we need the money, we need to figure out what we're doing. Like, now
how much time was that for you? I mean, in your business, was that
depended
a couple years or a couple months?
I can remember a couple projects like we had no business doing that work.
Yeah.
Like we justified it saying like we need the money.
Right.
Or it's a great training opportunity for the team.
Hackathon. Come up with some logic for
something.
It.
Like there's many ways of getting paid, right? And monetary is one, and commitment to your vision is the second one. But like actually like learning the trade. So we took on a bunch of events or hackathons, not a bunch, but a couple of hackathons. Like
you had a series going on for
we had a series, but it wasn't our topic. Like I can remember a couple of like it's not our topic, but the tool set's ours.
Right.
But so let's practice and let's see if we can expand. Now we've got that set. Now we know what our issues are, so we're just going to stay in our box. And I think like that.
So now you've pulled back a little on that?
Definitely.
I mean, I haven't really updated on that. I'm curious,
Definitely. And so now we have it. I'm not going to say it's a client-specific thing, but it's definitely like if the client comes to us and says, we want to develop the new candy wrapper. Right. And we don't care if it's sustainable. Right. We want to hear that like the things that we're trying to solve in the world map to the client requests. And that also comes back down to I've really realized like this up and down, this movement around the team itself, they struggle with that. They don't have a clear point. They're like, what are we doing? What am I learning? How am I benefiting from this? Right. And so actually that's another thing is more and more I'm really realizing that as much as you need to cover the bills, as much as you need to develop your portfolio of clients, you also need to respect like the team. There's a lot of times they want to specialize, they want to get better at their craft, they want to be known for something, and you want to help them develop process. I think that's important. But you can't develop process if everything is totally different. So we're not perfect. We certainly have a long way to go, but it's something we've been looking at for a while.
It's really interesting because that, I mean, is a huge resonates in a big way with myself and my team. So much of it we're bouncing from consulting project to research project to training project to then to like a new marketing thing that we have to do internally for our own selves, right? So we're just constantly running around.
My brand or my vision is sustainability. That pigeonholes me a bit into like say environmental. Right. you're in innovation.
Yeah. No,
I mean, how does this play into what you're working on? And like,
Yeah.
you've got to be fielding so many different types of requests. So how do you work with that?
We don't touch any kind of marketing project basically, because that's not innovative enough for us, right? Anything, basically all the work that we want to do is about let me see, how do I want to, basically 2 years out, right? So with training, we're not going to see results immediately, but training is one of those skills, one of those capabilities that you need to develop over time. And then the team that you're training will get better. They will start to understand it more. Then they start to apply it, and then you can slowly level them up, right? So that's a process. Innovation, you're just not going to get it right off the bat. There's still some research involved. There's still some strategy involved, but it's so much of the iteration process that you need to go through for and with a client. If they expect some sort of immediate sales result in 2 to 3 months, we're not a marketing agency. We don't know how to do some splashy marketing campaign. Not yet. Because my personality is to go and say yes, we can do that. Yeah, we can do whatever it takes, we'll do it.
So actually, you have 2 products, and then you have your service. Like, how was the process different for you, and like, why did you get into the product side? Like, it sounds like you're doing more than I am there. So,
well, I'm curious to see what else we can do, right? And so we started with the same issues of like, how do we prove and show to a client what we're doing? Because you can only see us. You can see our energy, you can see our time, and when we're not there, the product is not there. I mean, from a very kind of subconscious point of view, the thing you're holding or the thing you're interacting with is the product, right? I mean, that's as basic as you can frame it. And so we noticed that we weren't getting the type of projects that we really, really wanted. And so we needed to train ourselves up. So we thought, what if we just applied our own skills and services to ourselves? What if we treated Let's Make Great as a client?
Yeah, and that's kind of how we look at product development as well. Is like, there's all these challenges that we see that we've been exposed to by the research or by the work or whatever it was. And we're like, no one's got the opportunity. No one's got the ability to focus on this challenge long enough, and it kind of frustrates us. So, what can we do now? We've only got 1 product right now. We've only done this once. My goal is to try and sell this, trade war aside, 2 to 3 more times this year.
Nice.
So next year we have the budget for that, because I really think like there's something in it that you're not just helping your clients solve problems, but that actually you're helping to solve the problems that they can't solve that are important.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, you're channeling their effort or their expertise and packaging it in a certain way for their clients, right?
And also, like, by doing the services, you're able to cut your teeth and sharpen your stone a little bit on, on their budget, on their ideas, on their project with their team. And actually, I will say one of the coolest things I had with this product was about 3 months ago. A team member and I, we flew back to the headquarters of this client. Okay. They're the ones who've been really supporting this product. And, we've been struggling with like making sure that we have the right impact, that like basically we have, our activities, we have our outcomes, we have our expectations, we have our vision, like, okay, but how do we measure this? Because, we're looking for specific
other
things.
End of it, yeah.
And we sat with their team, and like the way that they approach things as an entrepreneur going into a much larger organization and seeing the framework, seeing the skills, seeing you're just like, this is amazing. And I was actually sitting there thinking like, wow, I'd love to spend like 3 months in their office. Okay. And they would infect me with so much information that would help me make the product better, and vice versa. Like, there's so much of this, the sharing that go back and forth. It was one of the first.
That feedback
like, wow.
loop, right?
Yeah, and it was like it's a third party. Like, they have a vested interest, but they just have these skills and these research. Like, wow, like it was really quite fun. And it was, I won't say it was just self-validating, but the fact that we knew that we were on the right path, we were a little bit off in the wrong spot, and they were able to like, in our experience, and they had PhDs in this stuff, and it's like, God, this is phenomenal.
Wow.
So that was really fun. Is we learned the limits of ourselves. We grew through this project, and so has our client, to the benefit of.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. Right. So that's a really fun aspect of why I'm so happy about this product and want to keep doing it. Totally
going over to the other side. So then let's go back this other way then. All right. If knowing this now, could you have started as a product-based business?
So personally, not this specific business.
Okay.
I don't think so. In the industry that I'm in, when it comes to sustainability, you tend to develop a technology that reduces food waste or packaging improvements or something very technical. And I think that my team, the way that I built it, the way I've been trying to form it, is much more generalistic at this point.
Yeah.
It's much more of a genesis. Like as we take on these projects, as we build our portfolio, as we get deeper, we will start to bring in a lot more technical individuals, and that I think it builds a robustness in the organization.
The depth, yeah.
So no, I think you can get started product first. Different businesses, there's some benefit to getting involved in the service side, doing some consulting, building your depth of knowledge, and then building the right product off that.
I think that's what I need to do first, because in the beginning, you know, like I said previously, it was that I just don't know. I didn't know a lot of things about the consulting industry or creativity or innovation in general. And so I think consulting and service business is a great way to learn about a specific segment or a client or getting your way into the door, right? So I think, you know, a lot of times you look at, or people from the outside look at service startups as a way of like, it's not scalable. Why would you do it? Why are you wasting your time? Right?
So here's another thing that we didn't even talk about.
Yeah.
The money.
Yeah.
You want to build a product-based company.
Right.
You better have some investment.
On the other side,
I won't say investment.
Yeah.
You better have some capital that you can invest into the development of a product without a certain time horizon. The nice thing about service, like PowerPoint, sell, money, chain,
time,
right?
Yeah.
Like it's you can move much faster because it's your ideas.
Right.
But if it's product and say like you've got a tool, an aluminum product, you have to do an extrusion, you have to you know do the design of a book.
You have to code something.
You have to. It takes months, and it's layout, it's process, it's financing, it's shipping, it's you know selling is different because you have to have the product ready before you sell it. So actually, that's another difference where in a service it's like put up a website, load an app, like load a WeChat channel or something like.
Yeah. You can think more,
Much quicker.
you know, more just quickly, just get your hands dirty and just send something out.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, an app would be much faster. Like the app that we developed, it took 6 weeks, so it was really fast.
Right. But there's still a lot of stuff that behind the scenes before that, right? And also even
like
after
months.
that too, right?
Like 9 months.
And also you're touching upon hardware too now, right?
Right.
So there's a
Well, we're not. You know, I know for the product to be at its best, we need to build our own hardware.
Okay.
But I don't have the capital.
Right.
Right.
So here's
now,
the issue.
So now we're now in between where actually the product is now getting some market acceptance where the numbers are really coming up where we're now getting others that are interested in the pool.
Right.
So but we know like, you know, step by step. And also we know that if you go too fast, you're going to burn out too fast anyway. So what's the point? Focus on the product that you can build that to the best of your ability. Make sure the market wants that. The next step is manufacture your own hardware if it makes sense.
Continue to evolve that business model, right?
But if I started making hardware as a starting point and the software didn't work, then I would have wasted all that time, energy, resource, money on a product that had no future. And that would have basically cost us the software side.
Oof, yeah.
Right.
At the minimum.
At the minimum.
At the minimum, right? So, wow, this is really
So
interesting.
there's a lot to consider.
You know, sometimes people, when they're talking to me about like my business and they're giving me advice, right? And they're saying, Brian, you need to package and productize your business, right? your service, right? Do you have any thoughts about that? About how do you create some sort of package around that? Just the organization.
Yeah, so we spent some time with
slightly
that.
different way of talking about service, though, isn't it?
It's so yeah, we looked at that, you know, as an organization, and we're looking at that now. So we have a few products where, if we do it right, we will get repeat business on a yearly basis.
Okay, yeah.
The other way to look at it is like, how can I turn a yearly product into a monthly product? Like, what are the things that people want, right? So if I just look on the market, and I actually just was like thinking one day, like, what is it that people pay for every month? Well, they pay for accounting, they pay for HR, they pay for social media support, they pay for comms, they pay for a quality control person. Like, they pay for these things. Like, and then what is it about my business that looks like that or has a very similar value proposition that I can then offer as a subscription in a sense?
Okay.
So I created a membership package around that, and it would be like, it'd be a year of services, but I'd break the payments up into quarter or monthly or whatever the client was specifically asking for. Now, it's very difficult as a consulting group to do that, but maybe you develop a research project or a research product, like a quarterly
Regular
newsletter or
some
insights or 5 hours with me every month or I think every business, you basically have to sit down and go, what is it that people want to hear, see, feel, and every week, month, quarter half year, and then
Create
how
that
would I charge that?
experience
How would I
and then
charge for that?
Build the
Yeah.
business model around it, right?
But I think you can do it. But then I also think as a consulting firm, you then have a whole host of other things
Right.
that then are bespoke,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's
and then maybe
where
over time
the things are more interesting for us, but at the same time, you need to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
So if you can create some sort of subscription package for your clients, which they still want,
Yeah.
right? No, they're not trying
And
to.
I won't call it like a low level service, but it's definitely like there's a process driven
threshold,
aspect
yeah.
to this that
Yeah.
you would not be billing your time every month as the retainer. You would likely have a teammate who would be doing 80.
So this is
and you'd
not
be doing
retainer business model that you're talking about.
A
This
retainer,
is-
well, a retainer business model. I think you need a project manager, you need
Right.
an analyst, you need people
Right.
who are below you. Where you've come up with a product, you are like the 10% of that work,
Right.
but then the 80, 90, 70, 60, whatever, like that's done by a team that's a grade lower,
Right,
right?
right.
And that's so the quality's lower. The quality's still at the highest
Well,
level.
that's what
but,
the 10% is for.
right. But once you start getting there,
Yeah.
then actually when you're developing that process, then people understand like, oh, okay, I can get this much with you, and I get this much with them, and I get this at the end of every month. And I think the better you are at doing that, I mean, I think there's certain niches like accounting. You just have to do your bookkeeping every day, every week, every month. Lawyers, like there's just some, but
They found a
there's
way to
stuff
do
with-
it.
There's
Yeah.
stuff that we're doing that will become that. And I think we have to sit down once a year, twice a year, and figure out like
right.
what is it that's leaning towards there, and then can I test the market to see if people would pay me $50 a month?
Was there any challenges in doing that for you guys when you were running through this
Yeah, I
exercise?
spent a lot of time on it, and
Right.
it didn't work.
Didn't work on.
There's your challenge.
Didn't
Right.
work like. What do you mean? Nobody.
Well, the value proposition for what I was
Right.
providing at the time wasn't there.
Okay.
But like if I look back at volunteering and volunteer management, actually, what did work for a couple of groups was that I would manage their volunteers. I do 2 events a month, or 1 event a quarter, or whatever
That's
they needed.
solid, yeah.
And then I would just say like it's going to cost this much for the year, and then break that back into a quarterly or a monthly retainer.
Okay.
But if I'm doing a waste management consulting project, that's much more difficult to create a retainer business around. So again, like
And they're not looking for that per se.
not right now.
Right.
Basically, what you'll find out over time is that there are things that that your portfolio will kind of shake out. You have these things like at the top layer that, that there's no process to it, there's no repetitive to it, there's no ability to create a retainer business around. But then there's these things that you're realizing like the wheel keeps spinning constantly around these 3 or 4 things that you do, and one of them a client's gonna go, ooh, I'll pay you a monthly, quarterly, biannual, like retainer for that, and you go, great. I'll do 3 big events for you a year. I'll do 6 small trainings for you, and then I'll do a social media analysis or whatever of innovation in China.
Right.
And you'll create like these tiers for that. And you'll find maybe over time that people latch onto one or they latch on all 3.
Right.
And then you have to run.
Right.
Because once you develop
You have
that
to
product, your
produce it.
competitors are going to realize, he's got a product.
Right.
And then they're going to just go, they're going to look at your PDF that you put on your
Right.
website.
Yeah.
They're going to
Check it
figure
out.
out what your pricing scheme is.
Yeah.
And they're going to take off with it.
Right. So it's really interesting. I think what we've heard from this discussion was that there are several layers or a lifespan of service business to a more complex business model. It's not exactly product based, not exactly service based, right?
Right.
And so what you were just saying was that maybe what I believe is that in the beginning you start off as a service business. You learn the craft, you get better at it, you build the team, you build the brand, and all that kind of basic stuff. Once you get good at it, you try to figure out where are the parts of the business model that you can create a package around or a subscription around that is somewhat repetitive, somewhat is process oriented. And ultimately, once you build up enough cachet, enough resources or whatever it is, and you get confidence as well, you can start to find those really great opportunities to produce a product around that, right? With your client or by yourself or whatever it is. Because after this time span, you've observed and found a lot more opportunities and found the open areas for you to enter, right?
Right.
And so this sounds to be like the life cycle. If we could wrap up, right? We're just it's the life cycle based on what we heard.
It's definitely a
right?
life cycle.
It's a life cycle, right?
Yeah.
But if you can imagine you're talking to a person who's deciding between a service business and a tech business or a product based business, what would you say to them to start off, right?
Ooh, I mean that's a tough one because it depends on where they want to enter the market. But I would say, if you have experience in like the camera equipment space,
Right.
and you have a specific piece of hardware that you know
Right.
you could bring to the market, like a new
Right.
tripod, a new lens, a new something. Like you know the industry so well, you know what it's missing
Yeah.
from a product standpoint. Then go for it. But if you're new and you're bouncing around and you want to try a bunch of different ideas and you want to move quickly, I think service might be a different way of approaching it. I also think, like, do you want to be on your own
Right.
or do you want to be in a pack of 6,
Right.
12, 100 people? If you want to be a service person, service business, you can start by yourself in a cafe and you can just start.
That's a beautiful side.
You can just start.
Low barrier to entry.
Low barrier to entry. But if you want to build a product, you got to all of a sudden start thinking as an organization, as a supply chain, as product developers. And you really, unless you're a total savant,
Right.
you need to probably bring in
And
more
you're not.
individuals.
Let me stop you there. You're not. All right.
Some people
So
are.
you need to find somebody.
Like Instagram's like 12 people, so you got like at least one savant there. But I really think like maybe a tech product is different than a physical product. But
For sure.
if you want to develop a tripod, it's gonna take a few dozen people to pull that off.
At the minimum.
But if you want to do a tripod design company, maybe just one person.
Right.
And I think it depends on what you want to get done, and also what's your timeline.
Right.
If you need money right away, I think service is probably easier to get into. And if you have insights that could help other companies and you know that, then maybe you go that route. But then again, maybe you don't want to sell your IP. Maybe you've got some secret sauce and you believe in yourself and you're willing to put up with the 5 years, 10 years it takes to build, build
That
something,
life cycle.
bring it to market and make it work. Great. I don't want to tell anyone what they should or shouldn't do.
Sure.
But I definitely think that there's some advantages to both. And I think there's some downsides to both. And you just have to be self-aware enough to know to figure out like where you are, where you want to be, and how you want to get there.
Love it. I love how you just broke that down. You have all the aspects for you to consider. If you didn't get that, rewind, watch that again because that was gold.
It took me 30 minutes to get there. But,
We'll get there. All right. Thanks for sticking around.
It's like therapy.
Yeah, here we are. Behind the grind. Brian Tam.
Rich Brubaker.
We'll see you again soon.
All right. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Peace out.